According to one of our country's biggest financial management corporations, Vanguard, financial stress appears to be impacting 401ks with record breaking early withdrawals. Let's talk about it. Now, my OG followers already know if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. If you're not following the Black Debt Society, please make sure to do so. This is a space in which pop culture and money meet. According to a recent Vanguard report, as the market hits double-digit gains, they are noticing an uptick in the amount of hardship withdrawals that people are taking from their 401k due to financial challenges. Vanguard noticed that in 2025, 6% of their customers took hardship withdrawal. That percentage is increased from 2024 when only 4.8% of people were taking hardship withdrawals. People electing to take out financial withdrawal is very telling on the state of people's personal finance, and let me tell you why. Normally, people are only able to take out a hardship withdrawal against their 401k when they have an immediate financial need that they basically have no other resources to cover.
This is a warning signal that no one talks about. People are spending their pension savings just to pay everyday bills. This is the real state of the economy, not the stock market indicators, but people who are spending their future funds to survive in the present.
I read an article earlier today and it said that the 401k is tearing society apart, and I couldn't agree more. Now, the article was very good, and it talked about how, yes, we all know we need to save. However, now the benchmark is that you need to save $1.26 million in order to have the quintessential retirement. And for a lot of people, 50% of the population have no retirement savings at all. So how do they get from 0 to $1.2 million? There are people who want to be able to save for retirement, but we're in the middle of an affordability crisis. How do you afford to pay yourself first and afford to live? The whole premise of retirement was set up on a three-legged stool. 1 being Social Security, 2 being your defined benefit plan and annuities, or 3 being your personal savings and your 401k. So what's happening now? Everything is dependent upon a one-legged stool. Your 401k.
Here's the math. You need $1.26 million for retirement, but 50% of people have no savings, and now everything depends on your 401k retirement plan. Only on it. On one leg.
60% of Americans could not come up with $1,000 for an emergency. People do not have emergency funds. Almost 70% of Americans say that money is their primary source of anxiety. Buy now, pay later services like Klarna and Afterpay are on the rise, and people are using them primarily on Instacart and DoorDash for groceries. People are using payment plans for food. 1 in 4 Americans have saved nothing for retirement. Auto loan debt, so for cars, has reached an all-time high. It's at $1.3 trillion. And credit card debt is also at an all-time high. So when most Americans are sharing the same economic struggles, is it still just user error? Is the answer still work harder, or just budget, or pull yourself up by your bootstraps? Or can we actually listen to the trends and patterns for once and realize that this is entirely systemic?
If millions of households are turning to credit and retirement savings just to cover everyday costs, that suggests the economic pressure is structural, not just individual.
What's going on, you guys? I've been getting so many people DMing me talking about the hardship. So let's talk about it. You can already have an existing loan that you created that you already paying back. Then you can get them a call and ask them how much money do you have in your hardship. They'll let you know of the situations that you got to have to apply for that. Buying a house, medical bills. They'll let you know. I'm with Charles Schwab, and you don't have to have proof of your hardship. If you know, you know. You don't have to have proof. The first 2 times, you don't have to have proof. You just tell them. They'll send you some forms over. You fill out them forms. The forms will ask you what you want the hardship for. It'll ask you, do you want to take out the 10% now or later? And send them the forms back. Just that simple. Get direct deposited. Your money go into your account. People keep saying, well, you ain't going to have no money for retirement. You know what? The way this shit going, nobody may not have no money for no goddamn retirement, especially with dealing with a 401k. You know what I'm saying? Take that money and put it elsewhere, because that money is depleting monthly.
This says everything about the state of pension savings right now. People are not irresponsible. They have been watching their accounts decrease. They have lost faith, and they are cashing out their savings while there is still something left.
But a pension is what was available to a worker before 401k was even an option. And what the United States decided silently, collectively, the corporations specifically, was that pensions were too expensive for the corporation. They were too good for the employee. Because a pension guaranteed that regardless of how the stock market performs, regardless of how the company does financially, they will continue to pay their former employee that has retired until they die.
You also get a penalty when the stock market drops. When the stock market drops and your 401k drops as well, there is nothing you can do to stop your money burning. So if you reach 62 years old and you're like, I'm ready to retire, don't have a pension, you have a 401k, but oh no, the stock market did really bad just a year ago. Your $500,000 is now worth $320,000. And you want to know what you can do about it? Nothing.
Here's what's changed. Pensions provide lifetime income, regardless of the stock market. Corporations have declared this too expensive and the 401k too lucrative. The financial burden is now on the employee. What can be done about it? Nothing. You now bear the risk alone.
More and more Americans are taking 401k withdrawals for emergency purposes. I heard this story on the radio yesterday, and the videos that I did yesterday were focused on affordability since New Jersey is one of the most expensive states to live in and people are seriously struggling. Our governor's budget comes out today. It's March 10th. But this was according to Vanguard's group, How America Saves in 2026. The report has a record 6% of the firm's 5 million workers have been plucking money from their accounts to pay for financial hardships, which is up from 4.8%. It also says that this was the 6th straight year that the hardship withdrawals have increased, according to the Vanguard researchers. In addition, 13% of participants had a loan outstanding in the year 2025, on par with 2024. It does say most people are not treating their retirement accounts as piggy banks, but the biggest reason for the withdrawals are staving off foreclosures or evictions from their homes, followed by medical expenses.
For many workers, a 401k may be the largest pool of accessible money they have. In difficult situations, it becomes less about retirement planning and more about immediate survival.
But a new report out from Vanguard that showed that the share of workers taking a emergency hardship withdrawal from their 401ks has risen to the highest level since before the Great Recession. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and maybe provide some context as to why that's happening. And yes, one reason is that more people are feeling financial stress, especially, amid inflation and rising costs, but there are some other factors at play that I wanted to talk about. So the first thing to know is that generally speaking, you can't take a withdrawal from your 401k until you reach retirement age as defined by the government, and that's currently 59 and a half. If you take an early withdrawal from it, you usually pay a 10% fee and a penalty in addition to the taxes that you're always going to pay. But there are a few reasons that you can make emergency withdrawals earlier, defined by statute and enforced by the IRS. And when you make withdrawals under those parameters, you don't pay that 10% penalty. So some reasons for those emergency withdrawals could include paying for medical bills, paying for college, to avoid being evicted or foreclosure on your home.
Funny how the same economy looks completely different depending on who you ask. Some see their investments growing, while others dip into retirement just to cover bills.